This is Bad Movies We Love, part of the Scheist Podcast Network.
Hello, Bad Movie lovers, and welcome back to another episode of Bad Movies We Love. Thank you for being with me. I am your host, Nick Scheist.
The master of this stupid stuff!
I am going to be taking October off from releasing new episodes, but I still got a big plan for September. No book on cinematic history would be complete without at least a chapter on Arnold Schwarzenegger. And that's why here at Bad Movies We Love, during the month of September, we are celebrating SchwarzTember. So whether you planned it or not,
if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
That's right, and I want to hear from you. The link for the listener survey is up in the show notes, and it's anonymous, so you can tell me what you like and don't like, so I can keep improving the show for you. If you don't want to be anonymous, you can also email me directly at badmovieswelove@thescheist.com. One of the best and easiest ways to help the show is by leaving a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. As an added bonus, I'm doing a giveaway. So for everyone who leaves a review on Apple Podcasts between now and the end of SchwarzTember, you will be entered to win a $50 gift card to a movie vendor of your choice. Whether you want that to go towards a physical media label or if you want a gift card to a theater chain of your choice, all you got to do is leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts and you will be put on the Wheel of Destiny. Then I'll spin the wheel and announce the winner on the final episode of SchwarzTember. Until then, we've still got work to do, and I was joined once again by Movie Miss from the Let's Talk Turkeys podcast to talk about a different wrinkle from Arnold's filmography. And that's Peter Hyams' End of Days from 1999.
I've always felt that Arnold was a much better actor than he gets credit for.
It's an Arnold movie that doesn't get a lot of attention. People either didn't like it and or forgot about it, and I wanted to bring it back up and put it on people's radar again.
You're in the hospital, they fed you snake blood as a baby, and then they adopted you and raised you to be the bride of Satan?
The script fails us there, and I know I'm keep mentioning that, but I do love this movie.
The devil has some thick, black, flammable piss.
And just put a little bit of zhuzh on him.
I saw him shoot the devil with the rocket launcher.
The boss-eyed albino
Comes back from the bathroom, fully possessed by the devil, whips out the lady's titty, and starts kissing her in the middle of the restaurant.
Does Satan get sexier than this? I don't think so.
Oh, you want to fuck with me? You think you know bad, huh? You're a fucking choir boy compared to me! A choir boy!
You're in touch with your anger. I really like that. I don't know about you, but I'm gonna have a drink.
Miss, good morning, and thank you for coming back to the show.
Good morning. Thrilled to be here today.
It's been not that long, actually. It's you were here, you joined me in June for Jean-Claude Van Damme, so now it's only fitting that you're back for SchwarzTember.
Yes, and what a great one for SchwarzTember too, because I feel like for your show it's perfect. Like nobody else would really probably cover this movie.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
I mean, I might on my show, but you know.
Well, this is, it's a movie that's from 1999. And for those listening that maybe didn't read the title and just hit play, we're talking about End of Days. And this is a movie that's comes at an interesting time in Arnold's career. His heyday was the mid 80s to the late 90s, and most of the films that I would say are probably like most popular in his catalog are from that era. So to see this being like a very different kind of film for him and a different kind of character for him, those were all things that interested me, but I think those were all also things that led to the movie not being incredibly well received or financially successful, at least at the box office.
Yeah, I know we'll get into it, but this is not your typical Schwarzenegger vehicle by any means.
Definitely not. But, I got a chance to watch the movie. I was going to almost rent it. And I was like, you know what? Give me 1 second. I started looking through my movie shelf and I was like, I think I might have this. And lo and behold, I pulled a DVD off the shelf. And so I got to check out at least one of the featurettes. And it's interesting that Arnold tells the story about being on vacation in Hawaii, and the screenwriter Andrew Marlowe approaches him and is like, hey, do you want to fight like the biggest, baddest villain of your career, the devil? And Arnold says he was like, yeah, I looked at my wife and I said, yeah, I'm in. So yeah, kind of like a weird, I guess, happenstance that things sort of went that way when he's sort of made his entire career and his brand on, for the most part, playing a certain type of lovable hero. And so not only does this movie, pit him against a villain that he can't just physically beat up, it also asks a lot of him as a character to sort of like remove all of the things from the Arnold Schwarzenegger persona that have made him such a big action star over the years. And it's one of the things that made the movie so interesting to me as a fan of his. But I think probably in 99, I was probably like most people that saw it and was like, it's not like all the other Schwarzenegger movies I've seen.
Oh, not at all. And an interesting bit about the casting you mentioned, they actually had Tom Cruise for the role, and he decided to go with Magnolia instead. And so they were scrambling to find somebody. And like you said, happenstance with Schwarzenegger. So this is not something where, he would have sought it out and said, this fits perfectly with my career trajectory and all the roles I like to play. No, not at all. But that's what appeals to me, is that he's doing something completely different. And so it intrigued me as well. I was like, oh, I got to check this out.
Yeah, I mentioned this when I recorded another episode for the month, is that I've been listening to his podcast a lot, and they're like 5 to 6 minute episodes. And it's like a lot of sort of nutritional health research, some exercise advice, personal anecdotes, a lot of stuff. But he gets into a lot of things about his career, which I find interesting. And so listening to him speak a little bit more like honestly and vulnerably as a person, and then thinking of the time in his life where this movie came around and what this character does that all of these other characters that he has done before really don't do, and sort of contextualizing that with this other thread I came across, which looked at Arnold as the Terminator, and that he's a different version of the Terminator in every Terminator movie. So it's not always the same. Like there's little sort of micro adjustments between each of those stories. And I think all of that just points towards what I said when I recorded probably the episode on Conan, which is that like I've always felt that Arnold was a much better actor than he gets credit for, because he sort of became pigeonholed into that action star role. But I always felt like his acting ability wasn't, shallow. He just didn't really have a lot of opportunities to show what he could do. So watching this movie again with all of that context and sort of keeping that in mind, I really had a greater appreciation for what this movie was trying to do and the challenges that he wanted to take on himself regarding what he had done in his career to that point.
Yeah, to throw a broad net on what you just said, it's like, if you don't think action stars can do other things, watch Vin Diesel in The Pacifier, watch The Rock in roles that require chops. Some of these guys can do other things. Bautista in, I think it was Knock at the Cabin. Mm-hmm. Jaw was on the floor at his performance in that. So some of these guys, including Schwarzenegger and even Stallone, I would say, can do comedy. Nobody gives him credit for that.
Yeah.
These guys can do other things. And it really, really bugs me as a lifelong movie fan that they get pigeonholed. It's like, please, world, please let them do other things. So even though this movie skirts the line between horror and action, which is probably why people don't like it, it's not one or the other, but he gets the chance when it goes into action and the drama part of it to show you what you get glimpses of what he can do, because the movie puts limitations on him with the script. But you get glimpses of the dramatic chops that he would have if he could, maybe have a bigger role doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, and like there was another movie that I want to say was somewhere around this. I don't remember the exact year, but Collateral Damage, I want to say it was, where it's like he's a dad and like his wife and daughter get blown up in a terrorist bombing, and then he's like, all right, well, I'm gonna hunt down the terrorist. He did Maggie, I think, in like the early 2000s too. So for me, having seen so much of his filmography over the years and knowing that he can do comedy and do it well, that he can do action, that he can mix the two and be successful in that stuff too, to see him here as a suicidal, self-loathing alcoholic who really just doesn't want to really be there anymore, and he's dealing with all this self-loathing from the loss of his wife and daughter in this movie and the guilt that he's dealing with for that. It's all these character notes that he doesn't really get to play around with in any other film that I can think of in the same way, other than like Collateral Damage is probably the closest. But watching specifically what Arnold was doing in this movie sort of gave me a much greater appreciation for what he is capable of. And I would have liked to see more of this from him as he got older too, and like sort of aged out of like being the action star all the time. And we see like little glimpses of that in some of the Terminator movies where he's older and he has to like play a more measured version of the Terminator. And, I still maintain that in the newer Terminator movies, like the movie that I wanted to see is the one where Arnold is the Terminator just by himself and has to like get a job and make friends and do all these things to like, it would be the story that's going on, I guess, like in between the plot points of, I want to say Genesis, the one with Emilia Clarke and Jay Courtney. There's a point in that story where they jump in the time machine, they hop forward like 30 years, but they leave him behind. And so it's like, I want to know what's going on in those 30 years. Like he had to get a construction job, right? So he had to like pay taxes, have an identity. Like I want to know what's going on with the Terminator for those 30 something years and what his life looked like in that way. And we revisit another Terminator movie and he's like, he sells drapes, I think, something like that. And you start to see like a little bit of the humanness in the machine over time. And I was like, that to me is more interesting than just making another Terminator movie at this point. They would never do something as crazy as that right now because that movie wouldn't sell. But I want to just like see the sprinklings of like what it means for this guy who's played this character for so long to have all these other opportunities. And so I was just like very much focused on what he was doing with this character in this film. And I can see probably why people don't like it, but I still enjoyed it. And I think it still has like, I want to say it has its hitters in the right part of the lineup. Like if it's a baseball team, right? Like the top of the lineup is still pretty good and it's enough to maybe carry the bottom of the lineup, if that makes sense.
100%. I was going to say, yeah, the movie is stacked with talent. It's just a shame that the script let them down.
The script is not fantastic. And I feel like I think there's a lot of things that end up sort of getting in the way of this film being as successful as it could have been. But we'll get into some of those things as we move on a little bit. But is there a particular reason why End of Days was the movie you chose for this show?
Because I feel like it's an Arnold movie that doesn't get a lot of attention. People either didn't like it and or forgot about it. And I wanted to bring it back up and put it on people's radar again. But also, I'm a sucker for a really good end of times, apocalyptic, we're fighting the Antichrist or the devil type of movie. Especially, and then you add to it a movie with a countdown. Anything that has like we're racing against time for something. You put those together with the devil, and I'm in 100%.
Yeah, I mean, look, this movie has all of those things.
It has the things,
Yeah.
yes.
So it's also like set against the backdrop of Y2K, and there's not really any mention of like why that's important. It's like if you were alive during that time and understood maybe the panic that caused for a lot of people, then I think maybe that makes sense. But there's no breath of why that's important in the context of this movie, despite the fact that it's set in New York and we see shots of Times Square and it's still crowded. There's not like rioting in the streets or anything. There isn't this notion that like society is about to collapse because of this event that's happening. So to pair that opposite of like, oh, well, the devil is coming back also, and he's going to end the world. I feel like those two things could have lined up really well for the story that you're crafting, but they just seem to run parallel without ever intersecting. But as soon as you mentioned this movie, I was like, oh yeah, I'm on board, because like it's so antithetical of what Arnold has done. I was like, I would so very much love to be able to look at this in a collection of other Schwarzenegger films that do things differently. One of the other ones that I talked about for this month that I recorded on already was Junior, which is like, again, like as far outside of Arnold's comfort zone as possible. I think I'm still going to do Jingle All the Way, and then Batman and Robin was the other one. So it's an interesting, like, just it's an interesting grab of like different types of movies, because like in Batman and Robin, he's still kind of Arnold, but he's the villain, and he gets to be this colorful sort of psychopath and have fun with it, and just still a bunch of one-liners, still be very charismatic and energetic and all that. This is like brooding, dark, borderline suicidal. I mean, he almost kills himself in the first scene where we meet him. In Junior, he becomes a mom. And then in Jingle All the Way, like we actually get to see him sort of actualize being a dad in a way that a lot of other Arnold movies are like, he's a dad, but his relationship to his family is like secondary to what's going on. It's like the character broad stroke is that he has a family and that's important to him, but then he never interacts with his family. So I think in Jingle All the Way, to be like, oh, not only is he a dad, but he's like not even a great dad in that movie, and he's like trying to repair that damage he's done as a father. So I think those four movies are very interesting. I could probably pick another four from his library that would probably also work for this month. So maybe I'll run it back again next year. But yeah, End of Days, oddly enough, I don't know if you did it intentionally, but also directed by Peter Hyams, who did Time Cop.
Right. And The Relic, which we talked about in Time Cop. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that makes Peter Hyams one of, I think, he's one of four now. One of four directors that has been featured on this show twice. So I mean, hey, I think it's good company. I mean, he's in there with Paul Verhoeven, Stephen Norrington, who did Blade, and then Daniel Espinosa, who did Life and Morbius. So look, you're in some rarefied air here, Peter. So there's no shame in it. And it's been not that long since you've been with me, as I mentioned, but things have changed slightly, and I forgot to send to you that rather than do a sort of a synopsis summary breakdown, we shorten that, and now we do synopsis haikus. And
I'm ready.
Oh, you have one? Did you do it?
I listen to your show.
Oh, okay.
I'm a fan as well.
I always I forget to tell people to do it because it's still new to me. So then I'm scrambling in the morning. I'm like, oh yeah, I got to make sure that I get this. So when I was taking a shower before the show, I'm like, okay, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. I'm like, damn it, that doesn't work for that. Okay. But yeah, great.
You just got to cheat a little like I did.
Yeah.
Kind of make words work as a syllable.
Cool. Well, I mean, if you're ready to roll, then we can do it.
Okay. Gabriel Byrne, Man on Fire. Schwarzenegger saves the girl. Millennium ends, no Antichrist.
I love it.
So I made it work.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, like I got in the habit of getting stuck, like wanting to rhyme, even though haikus are not really like designed structurally to benefit from that. But I did do one. So I had to like, I thought I had it. And then I sat down, I reread it. I'm like, no, that's not right. So let me fix that. But I'm going to read it anyway. So I came up with Y2K is near. Lucky for us, Arnold's here to kick Satan's rear.
That's great. Oh.
So yeah, I mean, I think the movie sort of on its surface is like simple enough, right? The devil's back. The end of the world is right around the corner. And there is a young woman in distress that Arnold gets to be different kind of hero, but the hero nonetheless. So similar to probably a lot of other hero arcs that we've seen. And he fights the devil, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. But I think we benefit from a very good actor in the devil role. So we're lucky that Gabriel Byrne steps into this role, because if you don't nail that, then we're really going to be in some dangerous territory where, okay, now so much of the story burden will be on Arnold and what's going on with him. But if you don't have someone to like feed into that and be as charismatic of a villain as Arnold is typically as the hero, then we're going to find ourselves in some dire territory.
Yeah, I feel like your story's only as good as compelling as your villain is. And in this one, I mean, does Satan get sexier? I mean, besides Tom Ellis on Lucifer, maybe. Does Satan get sexier than this? I don't think so. But also, he's so confident and cocky, and he's the devil. He knows that nothing's going to touch him. He just waltzes through, does whatever the fuck he wants, whenever he wants. It's a breath of fresh air for me, because the scene, and it just kills me that this movie goes all over the place with drama and action and horror. The scene where he and Arnold have the big, long, little too long scene in the middle of the film together in Arnold's living room. Mm-hmm. You really get to see why he was the perfect choice for this, Gabriel Byrne. He just shines.
Yeah, I think you phrased it well, in that it's confidence. He just doesn't seem bothered for most of the film. Like, he does get agitated here and there, but he's so smooth in the way that he goes through everything. And then when he needs to ratchet up the intensity, he'll just shoot you a menacing look, like he does to the guy who was his friend in the restaurant when he comes back from the bathroom, fully possessed by the devil, whips out the lady's titty and starts kissing her in the middle of the restaurant. His business partner, I guess, shoots him a look of like, what are you doing? And he snaps back at him. He's got this like snarl on his face. And I'm like, wow, the way that shot and the way that he like stares into his friend, I'm like, that's pretty intense. And he gives a lot of those just like creepy looks throughout the movie that really benefit the character as well. And looking or getting to watch the behind the scenes featurette that I did, it's funny that in talking to some of like the producers and stuff about getting Gabriel Byrne, and that like just when his name would be mentioned, like ladies would swoon. And even Robin Tunney, she was like, yeah, like he's just such a good actor. And then like when you say that like he's in the movie, like the ladies just love it. And then cutting to Gabriel, like doing the press, he's sitting there, he's kind of like leaning to one side of the chair, super relaxed, just like probably a little tired too. His tie is like really loose around his neck, the top button's unbuttoned, and he's like, yeah, I get to, dress nice and be confident and like have sex with whoever I want. He's like, it's a great role.
Yay, score one for Hollywood.
Right? So yeah, him being in the movie really definitely elevates it past where it could be. But that being said, it is still stuck with an IMDb score of 5.8, has a meta score of 34. But wait till we get to Rotten Tomatoes. Critic score of 11 and an audience score of 33. Letterbox will give it a little bit of a float at 2.7, which gives us a Bad Movies We Love total score of 38 out of 100. So really much lower than I would expect. Because if you look at, like, for the most part, like Letterbox at 2.7 would be a 54. So IMDb 58 out of 100. Like, those seem more in line with like a bad movie that's still loved pretty much by the audience. But then, yeah, the critical scores really drag it down into the muck. And 38 out of 100 is lower than anything I've covered in a while. So interesting to take this one on. But given the scores, why do you think somebody would say that this is in fact a bad movie?
How much time do we have?
Give me a couple of sentences, maybe. Other than that, we'll have another hour. So after that,
no, it's not hard to put into words. It's a dark, dour, depressing, sort of non-typical Schwarzenegger vehicle. People probably went, Schwarzenegger, yay! It's not his regular film. Script isn't that great. And then, like I already said, it can't decide, am I going to lean into horror or lean into action? We'll do a little bit of both. So it doesn't totally please the horror fans, and it doesn't totally please the Arnold action fans. I think that's why it struggled or struggles.
Yeah, because I think at its core, it is a horror movie. But then by casting Schwarzenegger, you're like almost handcuffed to making it at the very least a thriller, if not an outright action film. And so when it's in its horror elements, I'm like, damn, this movie has some fantastic like practical effects. It has some really good prosthetic work. It's got some really gnarly scenes in it as well, where I'm like, whoa, I didn't expect that in the movie that I'm getting. Because you've basically told me that this is a thriller that just happens to involve the devil. Like you said, it's sort of like a race against the clock movie, and that's basically a thriller. But the horror elements, like, they sneak in there every now and then, and they're really well done. So you had like good practical effects team doing that kind of stuff. But
Stan Winston.
Exactly. But the focus is not on like, let's scare the audience as much as like, let's entertain them. And so its identity, I think, gets mixed up in that as well. But
it's a great way to put it.
Yeah, I think it's a good segue to look at the trailer and to see what the movie sort of advertised itself as. Because, you know, in 99, I'm still a young man-ish. And
I get it. You're young. All right.
I see Arnold Schwarzenegger and I'm like, hey, it's a Schwarzenegger movie. I'm basically going to watch whatever he does. So I'm not really paying attention to a lot else. So I don't remember the trailer that well. But let's take a look and see. Let's see. It's good for us because neither of us have seen it in so long. Okay.
Before we get to the trailer, it's time for a quick word from today's sponsor. Have you ever wanted to feel sexier, stronger, and more confident? Like you were living your last day on Earth, but without the existential dread that it's actually the end of the world? Well, now you can, thanks to Brimstone to the Bone, the new scent from Let It Burn. This one-of-a-kind scent exudes darkness, lust, and power, with notes of campfire, bourbon, vanilla, and a tiny little hint of sulfur to make sure you're not just turning heads, you're breaking necks. So when you want to feel a little devilish, the choice is clear. Choose Brimstone to the Bone. And now, back to the show.
Make sure the volume is not too loud. Fear.
Interesting.
For all the people that cannot read the screen at home.
I've seen him before, in my dreams. He was never real, not until tonight.
There are things you never dreamed of. There's another world out there.
1,000 years you have awaited my return.
I love that.
Failed.
Yeah. Trailer team did a good job.
Just trying to see if there's scenes in here that are not in the movie.
Yeah.
No, that looks like it all was.
You know who I am. You're just afraid to believe it.
Okay.
Interesting release date. Okay.
Yeah, but that's like Thanksgiving weekend.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Wow.
I guess they wanted to give it time to marinate before the actual end of the millennium.
Yeah. But the trailer looks like it's a horror movie. I mean, it's cut that way, sold that way. So I don't think maybe that's what it is. Like if you expect it to be an Arnold horror flick and you go in, it's like, well, yeah, just because the devil's here doesn't necessarily make it a horror film. I mean, yeah, okay, like the devil can be in a horror film, but you have to actually make the movie intentful in that way. And I don't know that does that.
No, and it throws the Omen 666 flipping it to 999 BS at you, and it's like, ooh, because to me, it's like, ooh, Omen horror devil, I'm in.
Yeah,
as a horror fan,
it's the mark of the beast, and it's the end of the millennium. Like, so I don't know if that was like a fan trailer or what, but it definitely maybe was like a teaser or something because it doesn't show too much. But what it does show us is that there's like some underground stuff going on, almost like Seven. You know, they got the flashlights and they're in a place where there's like a severed tongue in a jar and there's like writing all over the wall. So sort of like demonic imagery. You have obviously the priest, you have the voiceover from Gabriel being like, oh, you know who I am. You just don't want to say it out loud. So there's a lot of insinuation about like what you should expect from this movie, but the movie doesn't necessarily want to actually give us that.
So to me, a horror movie can be all the things. It can be dark, it can be bright, it can be loud, it can be funny and all that. Yeah. But for this film, because it's not a straight horror movie, it's just dark. It's shot dark. Arnold had a qualm with Peter Hyams about that. So the film visually is dark. The theme is dark. He's suicidal, like you said, which is dark. So this whole movie, it's not fun, really.
It's not. No.
It's not a fun bad movie.
No.
So that's tough.
Fun is not the way I would describe it.
Because some movies can be bad, but they're so much fun to watch. This is not one of them.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think that's sort of like one of the charms of a lot of Arnold's other movies that are like quote unquote bad movies, right? Is that they still manage to maintain a level of fun that, like, even though there's a lot of stuff that maybe is like, hey, that didn't work, you're still enjoying like the Arnoldness of it all. And in this, it's like he doesn't have that. Like you said, it's all shot in the dark. And at like after the movie was done, like Arnold was not happy with Hyams' work here. And listening to Hyams on the featurette talk about like what he wanted to do with the way that the film looked was that like everything was sort of like beige or below. So like Arnold's entire apartment is kind of like that neutral beige tone. All the character costumes are basically like blacks and browns. He said all of the sets were going to be like black, gold, and then like candlelight color. So for the most part, like the movie's just like visual identity feels very, I don't mean to be mean, but like stagnant, in that it doesn't change a lot. So like there's nothing to really like draw your eye excitement wise. Like even Gabriel Byrne as the devil, like, yeah, he's like confident and suave and all that, but you know, he's just dressed in like a black trench coat, like, and a suit underneath that, I imagine.
Well, he's supposed to be an investment banker.
Right.
And they're can we talk about the plot a little bit?
Yeah, please.
Because it starts out with, like you said, suicidal Arnold. And then he has this disgusting, not nutritious breakfast when his partner, Kevin Pollak, comes to get him. So hard to watch that.
Oh my
Floor
God.
pizza.
Floor pizza, coffee, Pepto-Bismol, leftover beer, and Chinese food that was sitting out on the counter. I was like, oh my God, my stomach is turning. This is disgusting. But also I was like, please tell me that Arnold actually took a real sip of that disgusting concoction.
Yeah, I was like, you don't need the gun, dude. Like, that'll do it.
Right.
But so they go on their job. They work for private security, we find out. I don't know if it's ever mentioned if they were former cops. I would imagine they probably were.
I think at one point he says, like, I used to be a cop. And then next line. Because
what's weird is they're guarding Gabriel Byrne, who is now possessed by the devil at this point. And then all of a sudden it turns into they're two detectives on the case and working side by side with the police force to solve this crime. And I'm like, wait a minute. Script. They are not police officers. What are you doing?
Just make him a cop at that point. Even if it's like, oh, he would say he was dealing with the loss of his wife and kids and he was like on mental health leave, or because of the thing with his wife and kids, he shot somebody in the line of duty, so he's suspended. There's ways to like get him close to the police force and keep those connections alive without the whole like weird private security angle to it. Because again, later in the movie, he just like busts into some office and he's like, give me that grenade launcher and this vest and these two guns. I'm like, where the fuck is he?
He's in the security office. I had to back it up to make sure. I was like, they have an arsenal?
Yeah, just right into the armory. He's loaded up. I was like, okay, I guess he works here.
It was insanity. But you know what, though? That scene near the opening where they're running after the guy who tries to take a shot at Satan, and the whole helicopter with the building and that whole stunt sequence, I absolutely love the stunt work in this movie.
Yeah.
It's top notch. However, when he shot it, God bless him, Peter, too many close-ups trying to show how great the stunt is. And you can clearly see that it is not the actors.
Oh, yeah.
Multiple times. That takes me out of it, unfortunately.
Yeah. There's also, as he's like rappelling down this rope that's attached to the helicopter, he like throws a homeless guy off the roof. The guy like crashes through a glass awning outside like a storefront. The guy lands hard from a pretty big fall and then just gets him and starts running. Like, this is also like an old man though. So it's like, I'm like, okay, this guy must really be possessed by the devil or something. Turns out he's not even possessed by the devil. He's just crazy.
It's the power of Jesus.
But then as Arnold descends in that scene, you can see like his ripcord is tied to the helicopter, but he never like detaches. And then he starts running and then the cord is gone. So it's like, it would have been more interesting to like just play that out naturally, have him not think about it, run while still attached, fall down, have to detach himself and then like scramble through it.
He's done this multiple times in his career, because if you watch when he's running away and then in the next scene as well, he has that hook. It's attached to his jacket, to his trench coat, so that it can be just easily hooked onto the helicopter anytime he needs it.
Yeah.
I was like, how many times is this needed?
Yeah. And I guess like they have command over like air traffic control too, as he just like yells to the helicopter to like land in the middle of traffic so they can hop on board and chase this guy. And I like the sequence of like the rooftop chase where he's hanging out of the helicopter and he's gonna like grab the guy and he's sort of just like floating and it's all weird. I like the idea that the movie starts with like a big sort of action piece for Arnold, and then from there I want to see like less and less and less action as it devolves into like this horror movie, even if it ends up becoming mostly psychological because of what he's going through as a character. That's sort of like the trajectory I want to see the movie go on, but it just seems like he gets like more and more guns as the movie goes along too. So then it's like, now he's just machine gunning like random people. And I'm like, who are all of these people? Where are they coming from? You're going to need a machine gun. I understand that, but anytime he turns around a corner, it's like, oh, there's 100 people that are going to attack me. I guess the devil like sprinkled this pixie dust in the vagrant population. I'm not sure.
That happens in a lot of these movies. The First Power comes to mind with Lou Diamond Phillips.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that the unhoused people are the easiest to possess because they're downtrodden. I don't know. But that's a theme in horror movies for sure.
Well, we see that guy in Traffic early in the movie who's like, I don't know if he's albino, but he's got like the bleached blonde.
The
like,
boss-eyed albino.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's got like the little dreadlock buns. And I was like, I hope this character like comes back around to another point in the movie, because if you just like hired this person on looks to be like the homeless person in the middle of the street, I was like, that's kind of shitty. And then later we get the train scene. Oh, wow. Smash my microphone. Later we get that train scene where, you know, I think it's maybe like the first big visual effects shot in the film, and that stuff doesn't necessarily hold up that great. So it's like it's when it's in broad daylight too, like that on the train. Like I like the idea of it, that she's hallucinating, that this like character sort of dissolves. I don't know how else you could do that, but it didn't look fantastic. It didn't look good. I'll say that.
You are correct. I felt that they dropped the ball, especially we'll get to it later, I'm sure, about the finale with Stan Winston. They didn't utilize him enough. They went CG too much for this film, and it doesn't hold up for the most part. When they mix it, I like it, but not just the full CG like this guy. But what cracked me up the most about the train sequence is this is supposed to be New York.
Mm-hmm.
She's screaming and freaking out on the subway, and everybody in the train cold stops, and you could hear a pin drop, and they all look at her. You know, in New York that they don't do that. That shit happens all the time, and everybody ignores it. That would not happen. That's the most unrealistic scene in the movie.
That's probably the scene that they shot in LA, and they're like, oh, we couldn't duplicate it. Oops. But yeah, she's just like a regular crazy person at that point.
New Yorkers are not stopping in their tracks for that. No.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll take this opportunity. I think Robin Tunney was also underutilized in this. Like, she's a better actress than she's given the ability to show here, because she's essentially just like damsel in distress. Like, she does like one thing of agency in the whole movie where it's like, show me how to use the gun, and she shoots a guy, and then it's like, all right, just back to being like grabbed by this guy or grabbed by that guy or lied to by your foster family that's also like evil priests, but maybe not either. I don't know. Are they evil? Because you're in the hospital, they fed you snake blood as a baby, and then they adopted you and raised you to be the bride of Satan, but then the other priests that are like more hardcore priests want to kill her. So I'm like a little confused as to like which sect of the priesthood wants to do which thing with her.
It is exactly what I used to say when Negan was introduced on The Walking Dead. It is perspective. Are you the villain? How are you looking at it? It's perspective. Which side are you on? Because maybe you're not the villain of your story. You're the villain in someone else's story.
Yeah, there's a point too where I forget if it was her or not, but she said like they're supposed to be the good guys because they were like I think Arnold is realizing it. He's like, well, wait a second, like those priests are the good guys, but they're the ones that tried to kill you. Mm-hmm. So he's trying to piece it together. And yeah, from their perspective of being part of like the Catholic Church, they're like, yeah, she's the bride of Satan. We're going to make sure that that union does not happen by any means necessary. And so then I guess I'm asking, so Rod Steiger and that section of the priesthood, they want the union to happen?
So they believe in fulfilling the prophecies laid out in Revelation.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's why, again, script issues, because you've got 3 different kind of stories being told about what's going to happen here with Satan and her and the Bible and all that. And it gets a little convoluted, and it doesn't need to be. This could have been just a simple, let's stop Satan horror / action movie leaning into horror, and they didn't quite do it.
Yeah, and so I started to get confused, especially as more priests showed up, and it was like the limo rolls up, and then there's 20 new priests coming in, and they're here to confront the other priests, and I'm like, wait a second, okay, so they're protecting her from dying, but only to keep her alive to have her wed Satan. It's like, okay, so you're also the bad guys.
See, again, perspective.
Yeah,
they don't think what they're doing is wrong.
Yeah. So I understand Arnold being like, yeah, I hate all this shit. Like, just come with me, young lady, and I'll try to get you out of this.
Right? We don't need any of these people.
I know. I sort of half expect your religion is bullshit.
Well, we do get that great line that he does say to the priest when the priest, Rod Steiger, I believe, is like, do you believe in God? And he says, we had a difference of opinion. I thought my wife and daughter should live. He felt otherwise.
Yeah. So, yeah, I love the tormented character design of that, because it is this movie with God and the devil involved. And you don't get enough of this sort of reconciliation of faith with Arnold's character. It's, we obviously know that he's tormented. We know that he feels guilt. We know all these things, but it's not like the character was overly religious beforehand, or that he adhered to religious iconography. It'd be one thing if it's hey, he's suicidal because of all these things, but then also you see that on Christmas they had a cross on the top of the tree, and that this family it was a family of faith, and then this event sort of removed his faith. It's kind of he wasn't really ever all that much into religion. He was just yeah, this thing happened, and sort of just confirmed why I wouldn't believe in God, rather than God failed me in this situation. I have a grudge against God, a grudge against the church, which is why he has this contention with the people in the film. So I feel there's just a missed opportunity to really make that work in your favor with this story.
See, I think that's the one part where I think one time where you and I are going to disagree on that, because for this film, I like that they didn't lean into that cliche of, oh, they were religious and then the family members died and now he renounced God. That's in every flippin' movie. So I'm actually happy that they didn't lean into that.
That's fair. I just don't know.
It didn't service the movie well.
Yeah, well, why have any discussion of this character's faith at all, and then try to reconcile it at the end with oh God, please help me now, when you have no relationship with God before that. Mm-hmm. So it's it seems the ending requires a better beginning, which if you just want to remove that one line or so of dialogue from the end of the movie, where it's all of a sudden he's nope, I'm putting all my faith in God right now. I'm just okay, well, where is that coming from, I guess? But
it's because of the ending reshoot, which I'm sure we'll get to.
Yeah. So, I mean, we can get to it now if you want.
Yeah. So he has a more come to Jesus moment at the end, if you will, because when he sacrifices himself basically to save her, and he is impaled on the sword, and he looks up and he sees his wife and daughter waiting for him. Mm-hmm. And he dies. She's crouched down next to him sobbing, and he dies, and that's the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. So you're oh, he sacrificed himself and now he gets to be with his family. But originally they were going to have, then they tested this with audiences who didn't like it, God or whoever appear and pull the sword out of him, saving him, and he lives instead. I'm glad they didn't do that ending. I think
me too.
But it goes along with the whole, please God, I'm back in your camp, help me. And God says, okay, you did a good thing. Let me take the sword out. I'm glad they didn't do that. But that's, I think, why it feels disjointed, that part of that is still in there.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I can understand that. And honestly, I'm glad they didn't do that either, because even in the movie that you've established so far is that the devil is very much real and willing to come to earth and do whatever he wants and sort of enjoy the existence there. And he talks a lot about God and God's sort of ambivalence and his lack of involvement. And I love the line that Gabriel Byrne has, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that press kit known as the Bible, and like all that PR where it's like, oh, if something goes your way, it's like, well, thank God. If something doesn't go your way, it's like, oh well, it's God's will." And so it's like this excusing of sort of what Arnold's character is going through, in that like, oh, your family died, well, that's like what God wants. You can't like blame him for that, because it's like it's all part of the plan. But then if something goes well, you get to praise God and thank him. And then so you have God as this idea that exists sort of in the ether, where it's like, it's probably real because the devil is here and the devil's telling you it's real, but there's never any like direct interaction from God coming down to do anything in the movie. So it's like, that's the relationship, is that God is always sort of in the background and never directly involved, while Satan is willing to get his hands dirty and go in there and do that. So then by making the ending, oh, well, here, like God's coming down from heaven to like reunite you with your family, and we're not just going to sort of let the audience figure that out for themselves with what we're showing them. Like, he's seeing his wife and daughter, like obviously like he had his redemption moment. He sort of dies, which he wanted in the beginning anyway. He gets to be with his wife and kids, or at least see them. So it's like, we don't need that sort of that polish on it at the end of, hey, here's God like removing the sword and giving you your life back. And now, like, I don't know what happens at that point. Like, they just all go up to heaven together.
Well, yeah, you would assume just by the theme of the movie. But I also don't care enough about him to, unfortunately, again, script. I don't care enough about him that, oh, yay, he sacrificed himself and he gets to be with his family. It's kind of like, I'm just happy that, you know, everything got resolved to where she's safe now, and, you know, the devil's gone for now, and that's all fine, and the millennium happens and we're good with no Antichrist. I don't need the extra little button on it about him, because I'm not that invested in him as a person. He's this depressing, you know, alcoholic guy that we're introduced to, and you're like, why do I care about you? The only reason we care is because he's on the journey to protect her, really.
Yeah, well, I want to care about him more, and I'm obviously giving him some grace because it's Schwarzenegger, and I wouldn't be watching the movie without him. And like I said, I watched it a lot more intentfully with like his acting choices in mind, and like what that meant to his career at the time for a number of reasons. So it wasn't like I felt he needed like this redemption arc to be closed by the end of the film. Like, it might even be like, oh, his sort of shittiness as a person might be the thing that is most valuable to him here, because the devil is like, I kind of see myself in you and I don't really want to kill you. And so that does him a lot of favors throughout the course of the film. And so by the time we get to the end, yes, we don't want, obviously, this young woman who like barely even has a character design to be sacrificed to the church or to Satan. Like, we'd like to see her be able to get away, and she gets to do that. But I did like Arnold's character. Like, I don't know what I was necessarily cheering for him to happen, because the devil teases him with the idea of like, well, you can have your family back, right? I could make this happen for you right now. And he's like, well, they're not real, right? So he already knows that like that, all that stuff is lost. And so like the act of his self-sacrifice as a measure of redemption is like, well, he doesn't need to really redeem himself from anything, because he wasn't at fault for his wife and daughter's death. So I get that, like, maybe for his own sake in that moment, like knowing that the devil's inside of him, he's like, well, the one thing I can do is this thing that I've sort of wanted to do anyway, and this just gives me a reason to actually go through with it and like literally fall on the sword. So like, it's a very symbolic moment of self-sacrifice. But I'm also asking myself there at the end, like, I saw him shoot the devil with the rocket launcher, a grenade launcher, and blow him up, shoot him in the face, like crash a train on him, blow him in half. Is this sword magic? Because all of a sudden the sword stabs him and then it sucks all the fire out of him and shoves the devil back to hell. And I'm like, okay, like it's the sword of a statue. I get that it's like probably the Archangel Michael or something like that. So I know that like there's history there, but like, is this the real sword that fought the devil? Because you have not told us that.
Yeah, we have to assume because the script fails us there. And I know I'm keep mentioning that, but I do love this movie. I like, you know what? Let's talk about something positive. I like the use of Kevin Pollak.
Oh, yeah.
And I love the subversion. Like, we don't know that the devil was sneaky and like brought him back.
Mm-hmm.
I love that surprise on a first time watch. So spoilers for anybody listening. But I love his performance in this. He's not in enough.
Not enough.
Did you get the Usual Suspects nod?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Because the fact that he and Gabriel Byrne are in this, and then they also say that Satan's greatest trick line, I was like, oh, movie. Fan service. Thank you.
Right. I know. Before it was so obvious all the time, but, you know, I found it for a couple of reasons being like, hey, it's interesting to use this line with these two actors, but also like have this story actually be about the devil. I was like, it feels like it's more fitting here because it's actually about the devil and deception.
Yeah, agreed. But it was still fun. And then also the nod with the Gabriel Byrne as the devil. I don't know what he's peeing. Is he peeing gasoline on the street there?
Yeah, it must have been kerosene or something. I was like, the devil has some thick, black, flammable piss.
That had to hurt coming out. But then he lights it on fire and it just goes up. And I was like, oh, another Usual Suspects thing. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't want to know what kind of STDs the devil has, but whatever it is, it
gives them to Udo Kier's wife and daughter.
It's oh my God, yeah. Udo Kier, another fantastic actor who like as soon as I see his face, I'm just like, something bad is happening. Like, you know, there's some evil shit going on. He's a fantastic fucking actor though. And of course, it's like he's the doctor who's feeding snake blood to the baby. And he's just the devil's like right hand man or something. And
yes,
he does take the devil's right hand right through his skull, which
so good.
Yeah, great. Like I said, like the practical effects when they are great. And it's this moment of we've seen Gabriel be like cold and calculated and very charismatic as the devil. And then he just puts his fist directly through this guy's head. And you see like how powerful and ruthless and just like disgusting he can be when he wants to. So stuff like that, I think, goes a long way. I think he does it also to the train conductor later in the film. You just see like he's outside the train. You see this arm come around and like punch through the guy's chest and rip his heart out and then rips the whole guy out of the car. After the train crash, we get great like prosthetic works of Gabriel on the tracks, like being cut in half, and you see like his head is wounded and his like rib cage is exposed. Like all that stuff is really, really well done and is done so subtly. Whereas I think a lot of the big CGI punch ups are done where they're sort of designed to take center stage in the film. It's like everything stops to be like, check out this CGI moment that we like obviously spent a lot of time and money on. But then all of the practical work is basically like because it's practical, we need to be able to show it effectively. But if we linger too long, you're going to see, you know, the man behind the curtain, so to speak. So all that stuff is shot in a way that like has a lot of filmmaking history and intention behind it, right? And then you get to the CGI. CGI is relatively like still new-ish at that time, and it's like, hey, we got this big effect shot, we want to like showcase it, and then you see it and it's like, that does not age particularly well.
No, and it's a shame that it probably took the majority of the budget along with that, and the candle budget, I'm sure, was very high on this film.
Just for that one scene, you know,
right?
We need 4,000 candles to light the scene because we are underground and we don't have a choice.
I want to be paid to be that guy. Like, your job is to go around and light all the candles.
Right. And they all had like blow torches to do it too.
But, you know, backtracking just for a quick sec to Udo, like you, when he comes on screen, I'm like, yes, as a horror fan, I'm in. Whatever you're doing, I'm in because you're here. And I read that he was supposed to be the devil.
Yeah, he auditioned, I think.
Yeah, and they didn't want to do it because of his thick accent, because they would have Arnold in the lead and then him in the lead with these two opposing accents. And God bless him, I'm glad they didn't do that, because Udo is perfect in the role he's in, and Gabriel Byrne oozes charisma, and I don't think Udo could give that same performance in that role.
And Udo had just been the head, well, not the head villain, but one of the charismatic villains from Blade the year before in 98. Yeah, he was the head of the Vampire Council. So I think like he still got to be a similar character within a year, where he's not exactly the devil, but he's like a devil, and he's cool and calm and collected and very opposite of Stephen Dorff's character in that film. So yeah, he's really good. Like you said, Kevin Pollak, having him in the movie goes really a long way. And I realized that probably seeing Kevin Pollak on screen, like growing up, is what helped shape like my sarcastic sense of humor. And part of that featurette, he was talking about working with Arnold and like thanking his agent for getting the role. And he's like, yeah, you know, I knew when I was going to stand next to Arnold, it'd be like, I would just be dwarfed. So he's like, my two choices were I either start lifting weights or I grow facial hair. And he's like, all right. So obviously I chose to grow facial hair because he's like, I hate lifting weights and I don't want to do that. But Arnold would pull up his 18-wheeler that was like a full gym, and Arnold be working out every day, and Kevin said he would just like walk by the gym eating donuts, be like, hey, keep it up, buddy, you look great. So he was just like, I'll just grow my facial hair out and that'll like butch me up enough to play opposite Schwarzenegger.
Oh yeah, they needed to give him a little more, again, script, keep going back to it, more comedy, because he was a little bit of comedic relief every time he opened his mouth, even in tense scenes. And it's like, we needed a little more of him peppered throughout. I mean, I wish they would have. I mean, when he is saved by the devil and he comes back, and at the end, he's like, you'd be amazed what you agree to when you're on fire.
Right.
Cackle at that every time.
Yeah, because as that scene is happening with that stream of fiery urine about to blow up the truck, like I'm having memories of the movie coming back to me. I'm like, okay, so like I think he like dies and then like the devil corrupts him or something. But then when I see the explosion itself, I'm like, oh, he didn't get far away from that. He was like right next to the car when it blew up. So I'm like, okay, he's very dead. And or at least very, very badly
mostly dead.
So when he shows up at Arnold's door and he's like, no, I'm fine. I'm like, okay, so but Arnold thought you were dead, but why did he think you were dead? Because I don't think he saw the explosion. He was in the house at the time. So correct. He would know that the van maybe exploded, but wouldn't know whether or not you're dead or alive. So there was just like, okay, there's a little bit of context missing here. And then he shoots him in the arm like, hey, buddy. Just checking to see if you're human, because I know the devil's got some black blood and he heals up. So they didn't handle it great, but I do like the swerve that comes with it, at least.
Yeah, agreed. The movie does that a couple times, because at first you're like, who's the bad guy? Who's the good guy? Who do we root for? And then you get the swerve with the devil. Yeah, bringing him back and bringing back the cops who get killed, CCH Pounder, and then her, I don't know, partner. And people who are being brought back to be part of this at the end, the culty type scene where they're going to do the sacrifice and all that. So I like that, how the movie tries to play a little bit and surprise us.
Yeah, I think maybe having her also be a devil worshiper maybe is like, okay, well now just everybody that was close to Arnold is like involved in the devil worship side of things. So like his only ally would have been Kevin, but then he gets turned as well. So, yeah, I don't know. There maybe should have just been some other character, but then it's like we're introducing so many characters into this movie, adding another guy. Like I think by the time we meet the dude at the armory, I'm like, have I seen this guy in the movie before? Because Arnold walks in and they're very familiar and he's just taking weapons out of the armory. I'm like, okay, I guess like they're buddies.
He's the guy in the beginning that's walking around barking orders when they're geared up to do their protection drive with the limo. Gotcha, and he's the one, in the security center. And the only reason I remember that is because I knew that is I've seen this movie 100 times. So because I love this movie, no matter all this shit I'm talking, I do love this movie.
Yeah, I mean, it still has its strengths. I think the things that sort of, are its weaknesses. Well, I think the testament to the film is that like the strengths are strong. And even though it has like some pretty like deep pools of areas where it's not so strong, it's elevated, or it's at least kept afloat by Gabriel Byrne and Arnold and Kevin Pollak and some of like the bigger ideas that are at play in the film. But how do you feel about doing a little bit of trivia right now?
Oh, I'm in. Let's do it.
Time for trivia.
Okay. Get my splits ready. And okay. So question number 1. This was Arnold's first film in 2 years after Batman and Robin. Why?
Because he had heart surgery.
Correct.
And the studio was going to have a little trouble insuring him, but it worked out.
Yeah, so he was struggling to have that because he was like an action star. They were worried about getting him insured for the film. And he even said that they had to have some of the insurance team from Universal come out to the set and see him work in order to do that. And then listening to him talk about it during the behind the scenes stuff was this movie was important to him because it had been a couple years and he had gotten a lot of fan letters while recovering from the heart surgery. He's like thousands of letters of people like, are you coming back? Like he was so important to so many people that he felt like he had to come back. And so not only did he want to for his own sake, but he felt like he needed to show that he could do this. And, after a couple of set visits, the insurance teams were like, he's fine. So it just is cool to see like how much it meant to Arnold to come back and to be able to do this for the fans. And like whether or not it was like Arnold is like bigger and badder and better than ever before, maybe not so much. But at the same time, it's a different, challenging kind of role for him. So I think in some ways, like, yeah, he's not coming back and just giving you the same thing that you've always gotten before, but coming back from heart surgery, maybe not being able to work in the same capacity again, and then taking on a character design that he's uncomfortable with and not familiar with and is way different than anything that he's ever done. I think there's a lot of stuff to be, commended for there.
Agreed. I'm glad I knew that one.
All right. Well, question 2. The original ending had Arnold battling the devil with an arsenal of guns. But Schwarzenegger said that he did not feel that that was right for his character and eventually worked to change the ending. With who?
I'm going to go with the director.
He did work with the director, but what they did was they consulted the priest, or they said Arnold's priest, and I forgot the name because I didn't write it down while I was watching the behind the scenes stuff, but he said they consulted a bunch of religious leaders about like the text, and then the story the producers told is that they got a call from Arnold and he said, come meet me at my house, we need to talk about the ending. And so they're like nervous and stuff, and they go to the house and they meet his priest, and then they basically like act out the entire movie for the priest in Arnold's living room. And they were like, well, first of all, like the priest loved it, he just wanted to change the ending and to make it more symbolic and involve like the actual religion more than just like he's gonna just continually lob grenades at the devil until he's turned into fire and goes back into the sewer where he came from. Like at the beginning he busts out and he's just like a gas ball, and I'm like, well, no wonder the devil smells like sulfur. I think there was like an earthquake or something. I don't remember exactly how the devil gets loose, right?
Yeah, well, it was his mission to come back because they point out that because I was like, how is he randomly cruising through the streets and cruising through the restaurant and he chooses Gabriel Byrne? He knew he was going to go after this guy. So he came out of that particular pothole, manhole, whatever, to find him specifically.
Yeah, well, I mean, he found his man, and ultimately it was a good choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, question number 3. I had a different question, but that was about the usual suspects because I wanted to fold that in, but you already beat me to the punch. So, fortunately, I keep some bonus trivia loaded.
All right.
Gabriel Byrne was the devil in this film, but in the same year, he plays a Catholic priest in what other religious horror film?
One of my other favorites, Stigmata.
Ding, ding. Yes, indeed. You know, I didn't know that they were the same year, but as soon as I watched it, I was like, wait a second. I was like, is this like a spiritual sibling to Stigmata? Because that also is like, there's a young girl in the middle of it. She's being plagued by this, you know, in this case, it is the Stigmata. So very strong religious tones, but to see him like play both sides of that character, also very interesting as well. So,
and
yes,
Russell Crowe just did that this year with The Exorcism and The Pope's Exorcist. Right. He plays both sides. We're being possessed, playing a priest, and then he is an Italian priest. Yeah. But I also want to throw out there The Ninth Gate, I think also came out this year, which had the demonic, you know, devil coming to earth. So this was a big year for that, apparently.
Right. I guess it was just like 1999. They're like, look, we really don't know what's going to happen with Y2K, but we're fairly certain the devil's going to show up.
He's involved in some way.
Yeah. Just in case he shows up, I think we want to prepare people with a whole bunch of movies about Satan.
Much like the zombie apocalypse. We are so over prepared at this point.
Right. Zombies don't stand a chance when they actually show up. They're going to be screwed. Yeah, so you got 2 out of 3, which is really strong. That's going to give you some spins on the bonus wheel, which is going to be some fun. But some other interesting trivia. Before this movie got into the hands of Peter Hyams, Universal was struggling to find a director, and they actually had Guillermo del Toro turn it down and Sam Raimi turn it down. And I'm thinking of like versions of this movie with either of those guys, and I'm like, damn. We almost got those movies.
Totally different visions if that happens.
Yeah.
You know, there would have been script changes.
Yeah, for sure. Do you know who it was that suggested Peter Hyams to Universal?
James Cameron.
That's right, Big Jim, who was friends with Arnold. He's like, I'm not doing this movie myself. I'm already planning Avatar, but I got this guy Peter Hyams you might like. He just did Time Cop, which I feel like Time Cop also, now that I think about it, is sort of like one neutral color almost the whole way throughout. It doesn't really stray off of that center line too much. So if we got Sam Raimi or Del Toro, we would have had, I think, a much more like visually appealing film. And stylistically, we would have really seen some interesting choices out of the 2 of them. But there was also a handful of other actors involved in the project that ended up turning down roles, including Jennifer Connelly and Kate Winslet, who turned down the role of Christine.
And Liv Tyler.
Liv Tyler she was offered the role, and I guess she backed out from contractual reasons. So I don't know if it was like she didn't want to work or what.
Yeah, no. And it makes me wonder about the Robin Tunney connection, because they were both in Empire Records a couple years prior. So maybe she recommended Robin audition.
Yeah,
maybe.
Interesting. Yeah, another movie that I've covered on this show. But I am curious what the contractual hiccup was. But ultimately, I can see why Kate Winslet and Jennifer Connelly turned it down, because it's like there's not much character there for them. And like they've both gone on to be like Oscar winning actresses. So they see this role, and on the page, it's like, well, there's not a lot going on here. Like, I don't need to be a damsel in distress to Arnold Schwarzenegger.
But, you know, to Robin Tunney's credit, she's in Empire Records, like I said, giving a stellar dramatic performance, oddly, in that film. And then she's in The Craft, which is just fun. So she's delightful, I think, to watch. So she's definitely a bright spot in this film.
Yeah, she's the right choice, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, she doesn't have much to do, but she's a bright spot.
Yeah, she definitely is. And it was interesting seeing the producers like be very excited about her casting when they cast her. They're like, she came in, she auditioned, and like after 15 minutes, it was like, yeah, we know that it's her. So they were excited to have her on board.
So for director trivia, did you come across the tidbit about Marcus Nispel?
I read it briefly, but I was like, I don't know who this is, so I kind of was like, I'll move off of this. This is the guy with the manifesto, right?
Yeah, he's sort of a crazy guy in Hollywood, is he's known amongst them, because he's very demanding. But did you not see Pathfinder with Carl Urban?
I don't think so.
Oh my goodness, that is an excellent film, and he's the director of that. So that's how I knew his name. He was brought on and actually signed on to this project early. And because of budget and script issues, he bowed out at some point. So again, would have gotten a totally different vision. And when you watch Pathfinder, I'm sure you'll understand his the way he shoots things, and try to picture this film in his mind as well would be fun, I think.
Yeah, I'll have to check out Pathfinder. I mean, I like Carl Urban, so.
Oh yes,
I'll give it a tumble. And I think the only like two other things that I can really think of is that the role of the devil was offered to David Bowie, which I feel like would have been super interesting to see. Not that I think, like I said, I think Gabriel did a great job. I think he was the right choice for this, but I can't help but imagine like the version of this where David Bowie plays opposite Arnold Schwarzenegger and is Satan in that movie, because we're going to have a way different kind of Satan than we got from Gabriel Byrne here.
And then get Jennifer Connelly as the Robin Tunney character, and we've got a labyrinth reunion.
Not again. Not this fucking guy again.
You're like, where's the worm? Where's Hoggle?
And the last little bit of trivia that I will leave everyone with today is that the gun that Arnold Schwarzenegger has in the movie was essentially a prototype that was released by Glock in 1999, but the movie shot in 1998, so it was being branded as like the new hero gun. So they gave it to Arnold so he could showcase it for this movie. So I'm sure Glock had a hand in financing at least a portion of this film. But yeah, I mean, I noticed that like it looked different than guns I had seen on screen before, but I was never like, it's not like RoboCop's gun, right? Where it's like, it's that distinct. It's like, okay, slightly different than the gun that currently exists, but yeah, oh well.
I'm not a gun person, so I'll just have to take your word for it.
Yeah. But I mean, in RoboCop, his gun is like, you know, the size of a foot-long Subway sandwich. You know, the thing is huge. And it has like that triangular shape to it. So it's like very distinct. And like there's a lot of close-ups of like him like putting the gun away in his leg holster. And so I feel like the identity of like that character and his weapon is more specific than we get here, where at the end of the day, he ultimately trades it in for like a rifle with a grenade launcher on the bottom. So it's like, all right, well, it's not that much of a hero gun if he puts it away at the end. So whatever. Glock got what they wanted, and they got a lot of forward facing camera placement of his gun. So
they funded the facility's armory at the security place, right? Is what they did, right?
Yeah, just like come into the Glock store and you can take whatever you want and we'll just put it on camera.
Oh, I think we need a commercial for that. Come on down to the Glock store.
Don't give me ideas. Okay, well, you got 2 out of 3 right on the trivia. So we're going to spin the bonus wheel here and we're going to see what other questions pop up here. Ooh, this is a fun one. So you get to fan cast a modern version of this film. So give me actors for Jericho, the Devil, and Christine.
Ooh, well, I'm not going to say Jenna Ortega. She's in everything of a sudden.
She's too busy and she would turn it down also.
They're Kevin Harding her. They're like putting her everywhere where I'm going to get sick of her. But I'm not yet. I'm going to go with for Jericho though. It depends on what kind of movie this is. Are we leaning into horror or action? Because that determines.
Well, you get to make this movie in your image. So cast it however you want.
Well, I'm going horror, and I would really love the devil to be somebody who would be playing against type and who has a shit ton of camera charisma. I would go with like a Jensen Ackles.
Ooh, okay. I could see that.
Because he's shown a lot of his dark side when he's popped up on The Boys.
Yeah.
I feel like he'd be a super charming, yeah, totally confident, suave devil. For Jericho, though, gosh, I want somebody who's not an action star. I want somebody who's unassuming and can lean into the I'm really up against it here kind of thing. So I'm going with somebody maybe lesser known, like one of the, I don't know their names because, you know, I'm old. But the guys from like the Hunger Games and those kind of popular where they're in their like mid 30s maybe by now. One of those younger actors that we're not super familiar with, and he can really step up and be, because I want the devil to be more imposing than his adversary. Arnold is just so big, he shrinks everybody in the room, even the devil. Yeah, so that's kind of how I would lean with that, I think.
Well, speaking of the boys, I know Jack Quaid was in one of the Hunger Games. I don't know which one. Might have been the original. And then like Josh Hutcherson as well has shown. I think he was the bad guy in The Beekeeper. So it's like he's shown a little bit more range lately too.
There you go. Yeah, somebody like that who has the chops for the actiony stuff and isn't super imposing. And as for, let's see, so if I'm casting it that way and I'm leaning into horror, then I want she's supposed to be about 20 years old is how they kind of did it in this film. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I want to lean that young. I want to go with maybe somebody like an Angela Bettis or somebody who has done some horror movies and can really pull off a meatier role. They need to give her more to do. I don't know. I think I'd write a totally different movie. Honestly, sounds like.
Hey, I mean, look, we're at a weird point in history where like everything gets remade just based on IP. And, you know, I think there's a lot of movies out there that are sort of ripe territory for actually being remade with like purpose and intent. I think End of Days is a really good premise that you could take the idea, tell the story a much different way. And like you wouldn't be making the movie to just like cash in on people that were so in love with the first one, right? It's like it wouldn't be that kind of cash grab remake. So I think there is room for a remake or a reboot of this idea to actually breathe and like have oxygen to be its own thing. And I think with this year seeing stuff like Immaculate and The First Omen have a resurgence of like religious horror. I think there was also Sister Death was a Spanish horror film that was on Netflix. I think there's space there for religious horror to like come back and have some meaningful commentary and some meaningful space in the current horror market.
Agreed. That was one example that popped into my mind was if we're going to redo End of Days, let's do two different versions head to head, kind of like Immaculate and First Omen. Because movies cycle like that, right? They always put out like two similar films, like with Armageddon and Deep Impact. Like Hollywood loves to do that.
Yeah.
So let's get two versions of the new End of Days out there.
Sure. I mean, we just need another like Y2K event on the horizon and just a charismatic devil. Since you mentioned it, I think Chris Hemsworth would be a good devil, like having seen him play what's his name in the new Mad Max. Furiosa. So he was also really good when he was like possessed in that Ghostbusters movie where he's like the dork, but then when he gets possessed by the ghost, he's very good. So I think he's got the range to do it. But you know, he's gonna require a big portion of the budget as well. So
maybe less candles then to accommodate him.
Yeah, fewer candles. I mean, we'll just CGI all the candles in at this point. Okay. But yeah, that wraps up the wheel.
So I have a trivia for you.
Oh shit, I'm not prepared.
The name of the restaurant on the matchbook that Jericho finds in the first dead guy's pocket to go on the hunt for the whole thing here, says Spota or Spota, Spota. And that's also the name on the restaurant. Did you catch that? And do you know where it came from? Why it's called that?
If I'm not mistaken, Peter Hyams just like includes this name into his movies. I'm not sure where the name came from, but I know there's a character in Time Cop that's also has that. And so it's like it's a director's signature, but I don't know where the name came from.
Yeah, I don't know the origin either, but that is correct, though. It's in this movie because he likes to put it in all his movies.
Cool. All right. I mean, good for him.
Because I looked at that and thought, that's an interesting name. What does that even mean? And I looked it up and found the trivia.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like a family pet or something like that, or a vacation spot. Like, I don't know.
Huh.
Okay. Well, before we move on to Critics Corner and we see all the mean and nasty things that people had to say, is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get a chance to talk about yet?
So the only thing that stood out to me that I laughed at is I always watch, and this is pre-Marvel because y'all, I'm old. So I've been doing this since the 80s on VHS tapes because Masters of the Universe had that great sting at the end credits with Skeletor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So I've been watching credits my whole life. So I'm sitting here watching the credits, hoping to find something. And I end up reading them all, of course. And I always pay attention now because I'm an animal lover to whenever somebody has animal action in a movie. So this one said some prosthetic animals were used. And I thought, when the hell was there an animal in this movie? So on my second watching for the show, there's a live cat, a real cat, that hisses when they go into that underground place and they uncover something. Yeah,
it's
the
in
cat.
the refrigerator. Yeah,
it's like a jump scare. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a real cat. And then the rest of the movie, I don't remember any animals. Do you? Because apparently there were some prosthetic ones.
The only one I can think of is the snake in the beginning because they have to like cut it and then they drip its blood all over the baby. So maybe it was a prosthetic snake. That's the best I can think of.
Okay. Because to me, it looked like a real snake in one shot. Obviously, he doesn't manhandle a real snake. So that makes sense. Okay. Because I'm like, where the hell were prosthetic animals? Like, you'd expect New York, there'd be rats everywhere. There was pretty much no animals in this movie.
No, the rats were like, Satan's here. We're leaving town. We're going to Jersey for the winter.
You know it's bad
getting
when
out
they
of the
leave.
City.
Yeah. Well, that's the only other thing I had.
Well, we had talked briefly about the ending and sort of just the decision to go with this big CGI monster. And I feel like this ran into like a similar issue that Blade has at the end, where you give us, in this case, Gabriel Byrne, very charismatic villain the entire film. We get attached to him being the villain. And then rather than healing like he's healed the entire movie, he's like, all right, well, I'm just going to send my Predator ghost out. And then it pops out of the ground in the church and we see that it's like this big winged beast. And it's like, okay, like the design of the creature is not the issue. But if I read correctly, that they had done prosthetics to have a creature there, like in the physical form, but it wasn't like big enough. So they're like, we're going to go back and make it bigger. So that way, like Arnold is dwarfed by the size of this creature. But I feel like, you know, Gabriel Byrne is the villain that I wanted to see. Like, why not just put him in prosthetics, give him a backpack with some wings on it, like do whatever you have to do to keep him in that role. Because yeah, similar in Blade, it's like he becomes La Magra, like the blood monster at the end. And it's like, well, it's not Steven Dorff anymore, who was the guy that we attached to. And if I remember correctly, my sister's husband worked at New Line when Blade was in its release era, and they screened it with him becoming like the big digital monster. And they were like, they reworked it so that it's only like he becomes like filled up with blood as Blade hits him with the little syringes that he's shooting out or whatever. So they screen tested that and were like, okay, well, we want to keep Steven Dorff because that's what the audience is attracted to. And so similarly here, I don't know how that like this ending ended up being the winning ending of the bunch.
So I Googled some images, and if you can just Google them, anybody can find it easy by putting Stan Winston End of Days. There are tons and tons of photos online of this giant creature, and they're working on him and in their shop. And I'm a little bummed they didn't go with it because Peter Hyams didn't think it looked good enough on film when he was filming it. And I say boo to that because I'm practical effects all day, every day. I really wanted this creature. And again, the actor who was in it as well said it was too heavy. He was hunched forward. It was pulling on his back and his head, having this big heavy suit on. And I thought what you thought. Why didn't they use Gabriel Byrne and just put a little bit of zhuzh on him? CGI some, put some practical on him, have his charisma, have him speaking. That would have been far more threatening, because when you're speaking as the devil or whoever, you're seeing how their brain is working and their thought process and the evil things they're saying and thinking and doing. It's much more terrifying to me than just this big CGI beast who roars. I feel like a huge missed opportunity. I think you are totally correct.
Yeah, because it's like you gave us this Satan that what makes him scary is like his intent and his consciousness. It's not that like he's just a big monster. It's like why he's a big monster that is scary. And I'm looking at the pictures now, and this thing's way better than what they put on screen at the end of the movie. Like, and I don't think it's too small either. I see this one shot of it where it looks like it's 20 feet tall. So look, you put harnesses on the ceiling. You treat it like they're gonna have this thing fly, but it just doesn't fly. You just use it to support the weight and help the actor out. Or you do what we were talking about and just do like light prosthetic work on Gabriel, because you'd already done it at that point where he's in the train. We can see his rib cage showing. Like he's got this big trench in his head from whatever rifle round that went through it, and he's not healing the way that he used to. So I would have loved to see either this monster that Stan Winston designed, or like a sloppy Gabriel Byrne who's like falling apart from all the damage that he's taken, but just like amp up the demonic stuff, like give him some wings, like give him some claws or something. But what they settled on, I think, just sort of undercuts what's otherwise like a pretty good villain finale up until that point. Like he's got to come back to the church, like the whole building is rattling and falling apart. Even if he pops up out of the ground, I think there's a way to do it where you sort of honor the actor that has carried the character to this point. And all of the practical effect work that has gone into the movie that has really heightened and supported all of the sort of lesser CGI that doesn't work quite as well.
That's what we're putting in our movie. Nick, let's write this movie. Because that's a better ending.
I mean, Arnold, you want to play the devil in this movie, Arnold? I mean, he would be fun, or have him be like the grumpy old like commissioner or something like that. Yeah. I know that he said that he wasn't like super interested in returning to Conan at the time of the movie's release. He was like, after those two came out, I don't really want to do it. And then the further he got from it, he was like, you know what? I think I might be interested in coming back and doing like King Conan or one of these other stories. So yeah, shit. Get to working on that script. I got to finish another one first, and then started on more End of Days or End of Days again, or I don't know. Just call it End of Days. Who cares? No one's even. Most of the people that would watch it wouldn't even know this movie exists. To be honest, let's just be fair.
That's true, but it would get a resurgence because people would go back and seek it out after the fact. That happens.
That's right. We got to get Arnold on as a producer then.
There you go. Get his money. I do love, though, at the end that it happens in a church, the showdown, because in most satanic type movies, the devil doesn't want to go near the church, let alone in it. So that was a nice circumventing of my expectation as well. This movie does do quite a few things well, and I think that was a fun surprise too. Like, what? He's going in the church and fighting in the church?
Yeah, and I think visually, like the iconography of the church and just like the architecture of some of like the older churches are very like pretty to look at. I mean, I think we saw that a lot in First Omen and Immaculate as well, in that there is like a romanticism of sort of like the ancient architecture of the churches. Like when you step in, like you feel small and the building feels huge and intimidating. And it's like the ceiling is like there's so much effort that went in just like designing the corner of the ceiling that it feels big, and you're almost like attracted to like the way it looks. And then those movies get into like the reasons why maybe that's not the best thing. But for anybody who hasn't seen those movies that came out this year, I'm not going to get into spoiling those for you. But when it comes to End of Days, this movie's 25 plus years old. I feel spoilers are a perfectly fair game for this. But let's go over to Critics Corner.
Yes.
Now we get to see who had worse things to say about this movie than we did.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot. We've got an overall Metascore of 34. Lowest score on the board is a 0. The rare 0 that we don't see very often. This is from the Baltimore Sun. Anne Hornaday says idiotic, ugly, and ridiculous.
So she doesn't like horror movies, first of all.
Does not like horror movies.
They're all ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't like that one.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't try very hard. It's just obviously this did not work for Anne. Let's see, we've got 350s, some 30s. Okay, the next highest one on the board is the Charlotte Observer with a 16. This is Lawrence Topman. Says, I do have one overpowering Y2K fear that Hollywood will keep belching out movies as excruciatingly dull, brutal, mindless, and overlong as End of Days. Overlong? Isn't it like an hour and a half?
No, sir. It clocks in at like 2 hours.
Oh, 2 hours, 2 minutes. That's why I had to watch it.
Yeah.
2 halves. Okay.
Okay, Lawrence, I agree with you on that part only, sir.
Okay, so a little bloated at 2 hours. That's fair enough.
That's fair.
And I wasn't going to put this one on the board, but because it's the Christian Science Monitor, I feel like I have to read it because it's a movie about.
Yeah.
Okay, Christian Science Monitor, this is David Starrett, says, too bad Arnold can't save the movie from its superstitious claptrap, sadistic violence, and sheer silliness. But this person from the Christian Science Monitor gave it a 25. Whereas 2 other outlets have rated it lower. So at least he's like, you know what? Bonus points for the church, minus points for everything else involved in the movie. Okay.
I think he'd be on the religious bandwagon of it all, but no.
You would think so. Okay, we've got 3 that are in the 30 range. We've got the Portland Oregonian.
My hometown.
So we're probably going to go with that one. Washington Post and film.com.
No, I want to know what Portland had to say.
All right, the Oregonian. This is Sean Levy. Says best laugh at the movies all autumn.
That tracks. That's Sean. That tracks.
All right. Well, cool. If you want to have a good laugh, then maybe this is one of those movies. And all right, well, we'll climb the ladder here. We've got 350s from the New York Post to film.com again, and the Chicago Reader.
Chicago.
All right, Jonathan Rosenbaum says, Peter Hyams, a pretty good cinematographer, but a mediocre director, goes to work on a script by Andrew Marlowe that's designed to carry us from one bit of hyperbole to the next. It's not exactly much of a review. It is a description of like how a movie is made, but
and he lost me at the beginning because I think the opposite. I think Hyams is a great director and a shit cinematographer because his movies are all too dark.
Interesting. Yeah, his movies are very dark. But I did listen to people talk about like the way he shoots certain scenes. And so in this movie, we get that hospital scene where the guy is like crucified to the ceiling. And, you know, you have the curtain pullback, and then you have this like dolly shot that comes in from the hallway, looks at the bed dripping with blood, and like pans up to the ceiling. And I'm like, okay, that's like a creative, interesting way to show that shot. There's just not a ton of that throughout the movie. And it's one of the scenes where the lighting is good enough where you can actually see what's going on. So you actually get the benefit of like making good framing choices. Whereas like where everything is in the dark, it doesn't matter how well you frame the shot because it's not going to show up on the screen. So,
right. More candles.
Right. We're gonna need 1,000 more. Yeah, they for some reason they weren't allowed to have candles on the floor while filming, so they had to build these elaborate like Christmas tree style candelabras to hold these thousands of candles to light up this whole like underground bunker that they decided to shoot this final scene in.
Crazy.
Wild. Okay, we end with Entertainment Weekly. This is Owen Gleiberman. Give it a 58 out of 100. It says frequently silly, yet eminently more watchable than such leaden Schwarzenegger efforts as Eraser. Don't talk shit about Eraser, man. Like, I like Eraser.
It's a bad movie we love.
It is. I think it's more fun than this movie, but you know,
100%.
I could say they're equally in sort of like the same territory of being a bad movie that we love.
Agreed.
But I like that he is at least saying like, you know what? Eraser is basically like just a page from the Arnold playbook. He's the hero that we all love. It's an action flick. There's going to be big guns involved. He's saving a damsel in distress, always. One-liners, always. So this is way different than that. And I will give credit to Owen for at least giving it praise where praise is due.
Are you telling me that that's the highest score you could find?
This is the highest score that's listed on Metacritic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'm thankful for that then.
Right? I know.
Mm.
Well, 58's not the end of the world, but it does help explain why
It's not the end of the days.
It's not the end of days, but it does explain why this movie has a 38 overall. I expected it to be higher, and then when I started looking at the scores, I was like, oh, woof. I was like, those critic scores are really dragging us down over here. But yeah, what it does is it makes sure that when I sort of have to like tell the story of like why this movie is on the show, I can firmly say, just like, look at the numbers, man. Because there's a couple of times where I've done a movie and they're like, that's not a bad movie. I'm like, don't tell me. Tell the critics that bomb this thing. Tell the people who actually rate movies and put scores on things, because they're the ones that are giving it the reputation, not me. I'm here to elevate this from the depths and to give it some shine and say why we love it. I'm not here to tear it down.
Yeah, I do both.
Yeah. And that's okay.
And on my show as well. This would have been a perfect contender for my show as well, because we go by Rotten Tomato score.
Yeah. I know they just changed the audience score to popcorn meter. And so it's like, I'm still not ready to use that metric.
You're like, I don't accept that.
Yeah. But a lot of the movies that I cover is like, okay, the critics didn't like it, but it has really like high audience scores. And the other one that I'm doing for the end of Endless Summer is Hook, which Steven Spielberg, like, it has all of the hallmarks of being like a Steven Spielberg movie in terms of like its production, the cast, all the things you would expect of like a great Hollywood director. But critical scores are horrible and audience scores are really high. So I'm like, that's one where it's like, I can tell that it's loved, but also that critics hated it. And that's sort of like maybe more of the sweet spot. But I actually like taking on movies like this that are really like hated on both sides and exploring the reasons why I find value in them.
Why it works for us and for a lot of people. I mean, I've talked to several people and only one said they didn't like it. So
Ooh, okay,
people do enjoy an Arnold flick. They're going to give it some grace.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to. I mean, how do you watch an Arnold movie and not give it some grace? You know,
True.
And then so like listening to him talk about like the heart surgery and the recovery and the process of like getting a studio to trust him again and to be like, hey, we actually want you to be the lead in an action movie again. That was like a hard journey for him, coming from being like at one point the highest grossing action star in the world and like probably the highest paid actor too at one point, until Jim Carrey got that huge deal. So, you know, for him to like a big ego check to be like, yeah, just because you had heart surgery, like nobody wants you in their movie anymore. Like, that's crazy. Like, you just did True Lies a couple years ago, you know?
Yeah. And Batman and Robin.
Yeah. Right. I mean, so like, if you're just looking at overall stock, I'm sure Batman and Robin did not help him, but I did cover that movie for what's going to be the first week of SchwarzTember as well. So obviously I got a soft spot for that and his performance as Mr. Freeze.
And so what's funny is on my show, I recorded a few months back because we took the summer off, Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
And we're releasing it in October because it's also rotten. And then you mentioned Jingle All the Way, which we covered like a year and a half ago, I want to say, because of, again, bad Rotten Tomato score, but I had never seen it my whole life. Wow. That was a first time watch for me. And I, hot take, did not like it.
Yeah, fair enough.
But Batman and Robin, I love. So I'm excited to hear your take on it.
It's colorful. It's definitely the most different of all of that original era of Batman films. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to talk about that one. And Jingle All the Way is always a Christmas movie for me. So
that's what people say. Yeah,
I know. I was like, maybe I save it for December, but I think I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do like dystopian December. So I think, I was like, that's not going to fit. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do all Christmas movies in December either. So I was like, I'm going to be on vacation and stuff too. So I was like, I'll figure that out. And I'll just throw this in SchwarzTember since.
Why not?
Yeah, exactly. Makes sense. And then it leaves more meat on the bone for when I come back to September again next year. And then there's still a whole bunch of Arnold movies I can talk about. So
Good point.
cool. Well, thank you so much for being here. It's a lot of fun. It's a much better way to kick off my day than immediately going to work when I roll out of bed at 7:30 in the morning. So I appreciate your time. Do you want to tell the audience what is going on with your show and where they can find you?
Yes. So it's Let's Talk Turkeys, and we're on all the places, all the things, Spotify, Apple, YouTube. And we took the summer off, and I know this is releasing in September. So this month in September, we should have 1 or 2 new episodes. And then Batman and Robin is also forthcoming, which that's so funny to me because it's gonna be like, oh, I copied you, but no, we recorded it a few months ago.
That's fair.
So yeah, and we're on all the platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Gobble Podcast. So we talk bad movies. If you haven't heard us before, I would say we just released our Critters franchise ranking episode.
Yeah, you did that with Ben and Nix, right?
Yes, from Cinema Shit Shows. We have a lot of collaborations with them. So yeah, that's what we're up to. Please check us out.
Cool. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad that you're back recording episodes and working with some friends of mine as well. I'm supposed to be on their show so I think we're going to record in like a week or two. It's been a while since I've been on, and they finally let me pick a movie. I was like, you brought me on twice. I was supposed to pick one. Then I picked one. And because it wasn't like readily available, I got shut down. So then I just ended up watching it with Nix. And I was like, the whole point was to make Ben watch this movie, which he didn't. So then I was like, all right, let me look on Tubi and find something. So we're going to do Moon Maidens, and haven't seen it. But it was my pick, and now I'm like in trouble because I haven't watched it before either. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I thought you guys like boobs, so
You're not wrong there.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to find a movie that like seems to have boobs in it because they said it was from 2023. I was like, it looked like a 70s movie. I don't know. I just picked it. Okay.
Yeah, when it was my turn, I brought them boobs, and they were happy. So
yeah, there you go. Cool. Well, as always, this has been a pleasure. Please enjoy the rest of your Friday. Have a good weekend. It's Labor Day weekend, so take care.
That's right. You too.
Thank you. I will get some pool time in, and I will get some editing time in. And I look forward to listening back to this episode.
Yes, me too.
Well, all right. You take care, okay?
Bye, Nick. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you to Movie Miss for coming back on the show and diving into an Arnold role that is very atypical for him, but stands out at this time in his career with End of Days. If you had even half as much fun as we did, I would highly recommend checking out her show, the Let's Talk Turkeys podcast. I'm going to make sure that I have the links to the show and to the socials there up in the show notes for you. And of course, thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to this episode. I know you have a lot of choices when it comes to podcasts, and I appreciate you spending your time with us. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you do, please consider leaving a rating and a review and telling a friend about it. And the support page is live over at ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/badmovieswelove. I'd also love to hear from you, so if you have a bad movie you love, and or would like to be a guest on the show, you can contact me directly at badmovieswelove@theshice.com or badmovieswelove on Twitter and Instagram, and that's love spelled L-U-V. Until next time, take care, be well, and have fun however you get your movies.